Okay, let's look at example number 3. And the question is, for what real value of x is the equation above true? So for what real value, that means they want you to find a way to factor this and find a zero of this equation, or a value of x that will set the whole of this to be equal to 0. So if I can find a value of x that will make this equal to 0, that is true. So of course your best one of the options that you can do, option 1 is to just plug in. Plug in will work if you can go ahead, but it can also plug in can also take you forever, and that is why you always don't want to consider that as your best option, especially when you're dealing with polynomials like this. So here, whenever factoring polynomials is not an easy, it's not a joke. So what you try to do is you try to see if you can actually factor the first two to get a resemblance of the second two. Okay, so let's take a look at this. If I factor this one, if I take x outside, then I'll get x. Actually, I can take s squared outside. So s squared outside will give me x minus 5. And as you can see, it appears we can also get s minus 5 here. So if I do plus 2 outside, this also gives me s minus 5. And that is equal to 0. So with this, you can see clearly that it appears I have this factor. So this is the same as s squared plus 2 x minus 5 is equal to 0. And they're asking for real value. So if this is true, which I believe it is, then s squared plus 2 is equal to 0, which implies s squared is equal to minus 2. And that implies x is equal to plus or minus the square root of -2. And the square root of -2, as you can see, is an imaginary number. So this becomes plus or minus I root of 2, right? So that is not a real value, but the question is for what real values. So as you move on to the second part is this one here. Then we have x minus 5 is equal to 0, which implies x equal to 5. So the real value that will set this to be equal to 0 is x equal to 5, and therefore your answer becomes 5. So short of plugging in, your best bet is actually to factor the first two and see if you can get some kind of resemblance of the last two uh, uh, components of your question terms, and then factor it as well, and hopefully you see that, and that will help you solve the problem quickly.